Hello, thank you so much for tuning in to my latest video. Today I want to talk to you about some ideas for potential crochet gifts. So I'm recording this in November, so I'm thinking like Christmas and holiday gifts, but these can really apply to any event. So for birthdays, just random gifts you want to give out, whatever the celebration you want to give somebody something for. I have 25 potential crochet gifts for you here today, and I'm gonna go in the order from projects that take the longest to projects that are the quickest. So if you're in a rush and you want something really quick, then skip to the end of the video. I'll also have everything listed down below in the description box, all the patterns I talk about, and I'll include timestamps, so in case you want to skip around, you're not interested in certain sections, feel free to do so. I completely understand. So again, the end of the video will have the things that are the quickest to make. So I'll start with the things that take a little bit longer, and I'll end with the super quick projects. Before I continue, I also just wanted to say thank you so much to all of my subscribers. I don't know how I did this, but I got 100,000 subscribers. So that is absolutely crazy because I never post here on YouTube. So thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. I'm definitely gonna try to post more frequently now. I even bought like a nice fancy microphone that still has to come in. So that's why I'm not using it today, but hopefully you'll be seeing more of me on this channel, more tutorials, stuff like that. So thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed. I am so excited for the future of this channel, and if you're not subscribed already, think about it. Let me know what you think at the end of this video. See if it's worth subscribing or not. But anyways, thanks so much. And oh, one last thing, if you see this weird red line here in the video, it's because I'm in an apartment, a rental apartment, and the landlord has put stained glass, which is kind of nice, on the windows, but it does mean that in the afternoons, which is when I'm recording this, like there's a huge streak of red light here in my living room. I'm recording this in my living room, I'm just on my couch. So yeah, that will probably fade as I go on, and maybe I'll adjust. We'll see. This is my first time recording here in this corner of my apartment, so we'll see how it goes for this video. So I will be talking about my own designs. So I am a crochet designer, I sell patterns, but here and there I do have a couple of free tutorials, so I'll make sure to touch on those in this video, along with some things that I haven't put out yet, but I'm planning to very soon after I release this video. So hopefully there's something in here for everyone and of all different levels. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so if you see me looking down, it's because I have my iPad here. I have notes on all the designs, so I want to make sure I touch on those notes. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to start with garments. I only have one garment for this category because I understand that it's not always feasible to gift a garment, especially right now if you're thinking of giving gifts for the holidays. It's not really feasible to make a whole one in just a couple of weeks. So for that reason, I am suggesting the Torino Vest, which is my latest design. So I have it here. So can't fit it all, and apologies for the light. Let's see. You can see it. I'll also insert clips here, somewhere here, of pictures or videos I have of all of these things, because I actually don't have all of the things that I'm going to talk about here on hand with me. But I do have this one. This is my latest design. This is the Torino Vest. So I made this vest for my boyfriend, and the entire design is graded for men. So I used the Craft Yarn Council's men's sizing chart, but like caveat, I touched on this on the last video that I talked in, but you know, you should make clothes for whomever you want, whoever you are, make it for yourself if you want, regardless of your gender. I don't believe, you know, that clothes are gendered. This was just for grading purposes to make sure that I got like the body proportions somewhat right. So I made this for my boyfriend, and a lot of my testers also made it for their partners, but I had a lot of testers make it for themselves, so take that as you will. It comes in 8 sizes. It just released by the time I'm putting this video out. Actually, as I'm recording this, it's not out yet, but by the time this video comes out, it will already be out and released into the world. It's worked top down, which is really nice as a gift so that your recipient can try it on as you are crocheting it. I know I did that with my boyfriend, so it's really nice that it's worked top down. It's worked with DK weight yarn and a 4.5mm hook, so it's not the quickest make, but it does give a really nice drape. I don't know if it conveys so well here on this video, but the drape is super nice, and I used Barocco Ultra Alpaca Light for my vest. I really recommend it. It was my first time working with it, but it was so nice. I mean, it's really drapey, really soft. My boyfriend has now worn his vest a couple of times out now since I finished it, and he says the vest is really warm, really comfortable. He really likes it. So yeah, that is the first one, and the one that will for sure take you the longest to make if you're thinking of making this as a gift for somebody. So they won't all be garments. That's the only garment I have for you. I think a vest is pretty feasible. I think mine took about 3 weeks to make. I was working for the smallest size, and I did have other projects that I was working on, so I think this could be worked between like 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks. It all depends on how fast of a crocheter you are, what you got going on in your life, and what size you're making. But yeah, that is the first one. So now I'm going to move on to accessories. Basically everything else that I'm going to talk about today are accessories or bags or like home decor stuff, so no more garments. So we're on to scarves. So for the next thing I have is my Trinity Scarf. So let's see if we can fit it here. Again, I'll insert clips and videos here. So this is my Trinity Scarf, and this is a Tunisian crochet pattern. It is worked flat and then kind of crocheted closed to form kind of this double layer. It's kind of hard to convey on camera, but you can see it's a bit thick here, and I purposely did that because I wanted like a nice, really squishy scarf. So you do have to crochet quite wide, but it's worked with a 6.5 millimeter hook, and it is worked with sport weight yarn. So actually the actual fabric ends up being quite holey. I don't know if you can see. It's a little bit hard to tell here because it is double layered, so you can't see through it. But the fabric is quite holey, but because it is like then folded in half and crocheted closed, it ends up being very warm. So it's not so holey in the end, if that makes sense. I also really just love the stitch pattern. There's 3 colors that are used. It looks more complicated than I think it is. And as always, I include a video tutorial showing you how to work the stitch. So hopefully you can make it no problem. So I'm actually working on a Trinity Scarf for a Christmas gift. I'll put a picture of the one that I'm working on right now. I still need to get on that because I have quite a bit left. But yeah, that is one thing that I'm planning on gifting this Christmas. The next scarf I want to talk about is my Lucia Scarf. So it is here. I do have this one also on hand. And I just think this one is so nice to gift because it's very versatile. I remember when I was taking the listing photos for this scarf, I put it on like 6 different ways. I didn't even include all of those ways in the listing, but I was having so much fun styling this. So this is worked with regular crochet, and it can be worn as like a scarf around your neck, or I also have styled it as like a headscarf, like, you know, like those women from the 1950s, 60s used to wear, very chic. And it is constructed from the tip up, so this is like a triangular scarf. I don't know, I'm holding the tip here, and this is the widest point. So it's worked from the tip, and you work down, and you basically increase every single row to form that triangle shape. So what's nice about that is that you can actually customize the size of the scarf. I gave you 2 suggested sizes in the pattern, but you know, you can stop before the suggested size, after the suggested size, just keep doing it. It's a pattern repeat, so you could really make this. I think one of my testers, when I was making this, even made theirs into a shawl. So yeah, it's very versatile, which I really like. For the yarn that I used to make this one, I used one called Mirsol Solka Legato. Sorry, I know my pronunciation's bad. But it's a fingering weight yarn. Probably most fingering weight yarns would work as long as you follow the gauge in the pattern. I used a 3.5 millimeter hook, and I think this probably could be done in like 2 to 3 weeks. So I really like this one as a gift. The next project that I'll talk about is my Yolanda headscarf. So it is this one. I put this one out 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I don't even know, in the summer of 2021, I think. So it's been a little bit, but it is so timeless. I absolutely love this one. I wear this a lot in the summer, not that much right now in the winter, but when I want to keep my hair out of my face and I'm super sweaty, I'm doing chores around the house, this is the one that I pull out personally, and I think anyone would be very happy to get this as a gift. I used Knitting for Olive's pure silk, and it was my first time ever working with silk, and oh my god, it was so lovely when I started working with it, and I completely understand the appeal. The drape is so nice. I mean, it's hard for me to show the drape on camera, but the drape is so nice, and especially because of the stitches used. There are some gaps between the stitches which always help to increase the drape. This one is also worked from the tip up, so you start here at the bottom of the scarf and you work to make your scarf wider, 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 and then you add the straps, and it's actually all worked as one piece, so you don't need to seam anything, you don't need to reattach your yarn, nothing. It's all worked as one piece, so you only have to weave in 2 ends, the first one and the last one, which is super nice because sometimes it is hard to weave in ends when you have kind of very open stitch patterns like this, so I got you. I also really like the picot edge here. I think it looks super nice, and yeah, I think this one again would be really nice to receive because it is pretty versatile. You know, you have the hair tie, so you can wear it tightly, you can wear it loosely, and it looks good on everyone. All right, the next one I'll talk about, I actually don't have here with me on hand. I think it's at my parents' house. I'm not 100% sure where I left this one, but I'll put a picture up, of course. So this one is my Rocio Scarf. This one is worked with regular crochet, and it is worked from tip to tip. So it's like a very long skinny scarf. You know, skinny scarves are kind of in right now. And I used Gallard Yarns Will You Be My Baby, which is a sport weight yarn. I think it was alpaca yarn. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's mostly alpaca yarn, which also means that it's super soft. I would probably recommend using alpaca for this, or if you're feeling lavish, you can use cashmere, but something soft, especially if it's going to be around the wearer's neck. Something that is not too scratchy. I probably wouldn't use 100% wool, maybe like a superwash wool I'd use. Yeah, I used a 3.5mm hook for this one. I include different sizes in the pattern for this one. I don't remember exactly how many sizes. I forgot to take it down here in my notes. Maybe 4 sizes I include, either 2 or 4 sizes, I don't know. Check out the pattern listing. But yeah, it works up super quickly because it's such a, I mean, it looks very long, but it works up super quickly because it's very skinny. So I think you could probably make this in 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, so we are done with scarves, garments, and now we are on to bags / pouches. So for this one, I only have 2 designs for you, but they're very good designs. So for the first one I have for you, it's called my Celeste bag. So this is one of 2 that I've made here. So again, I'll also insert clips over here, and it only has 1 strap, but it's like nice and wide. This is worked with regular crochet. It's worked both flat and in the round, and it has, you know, many video tutorials showing you how to work this. So you work this from the bottom up. Basically, you start here at the base, and then you work in rounds to create the body of the bag. Once you work the majority of the body, then you work flat to work the straps, and then just seam them or crochet them at the top. I don't remember if I seamed them or crocheted them. And then you add like a nice little border here to the edge of your straps. If there's one thing about me, is that I hate raw edges. Like, I don't like crochet designs that don't have borders or edging or something like that. So you will never see that from my designs. I almost always add a border, so that's why I added this. I just think it gives it a much nicer, cleaner finish. And one thing that I did with this bag, and it's the first design I did this with, and then once I did it I never went back, is that I lined this bag actually. Also, it has stuff in it because I use my crochet pieces, so it's just got like some receipts and some sewing thread, of course, in here. But yeah, I lined this bag, and I actually put a video tutorial here on my YouTube for free. You can check it out now, link it below, on how I lined this bag, like literally this bag that I'm holding right now. I show you how I line it. I also have another bag. I have a pink bag that I love to use in the summer, especially it's really bright, it pops a lot. And yeah, I mean, ever since I started lining my bags, it has been an absolute game changer. I have found that my crochet bags just don't stretch as much, and they can hold little tiny things. You know, if I want to throw in crochet hooks, whatever in there, keys, card keys, are not popping out at the bottom through the kind of crochet fabric. So it's really a good idea to line your bags. It's not as hard as you may think. It is a little bit time consuming, but it's not difficult. I wouldn't say it's difficult. I think if you can crochet a whole bag, then you should be able to line it. And I think it would be a really nice gift. I think somebody could really see all of the hard work that went into this, and it's very practical. You know, it doesn't have to like fit the wearer. It's just a bag, so they can use it however they want. But yeah, I think it's a really nice and special gift, especially again because of the lining. I think it's super nice. The next one I have here is my candy stripe pouch. So I'm gonna grab this one. I have 2. I have these two. I love these pouches. These make me want to only make pouches now. They are so practical. Actually, kind of funny story with these. I got the yarn from Hope's Wool. So this is made with Hope's Wool boucle mohair yarn. So I received that yarn as a gift from the team over at Hope's Wool, which is very kind of them. But they sent me two kind of skeins of each color, and so I got 2 skeins of pink, 2 skeins of this light pink, 2 skeins of white, and 2 skeins of this darker pink. But it wasn't enough yarn to do a garment, and like I had to do stripes. I don't know, basically I was very unsure of what I was gonna use the yarn for a long time. I think I probably sat on it for like a month before I decided what I wanted to do. And then I don't know how the idea came to me, but I really just love the idea of working up a crochet pouch. I'd never had one, but I always need new project bags, stuff to hold my makeup, my stitch markers, keys, whatever. I love throwing pouches in my purses, so I always need pouches. And I thought that this would be a really fun yarn to work up a pouch for. I love how fuzzy they are. Right now, this one's full of yarn. So I'm actually gonna make a design that I'll talk about later on in a second with this yarn. So I've put it in here to protect the yarn. I like always having my yarn like closed with zippers and stuff. But yeah, so this is kind of a project bag. I'm gonna use this yarn later this winter to crochet something, a Christmas gift. But yeah, so I'm using this pouch for that, and then I'm using the other one. The reason I don't want to use this is because it's all jangly and stuff. I'm using this one for my makeup. I don't know if you can see. This is my makeup bag, and it is perfect for that. So I'm super proud of this one because, here, let me take out the yarn in this one so that it's not in the way. I'm super proud of this one because I installed a zipper by myself, by hand, and I figured out how to do it in a really nice way, a really clean, seamless way. I mean, look how nicely this opens. So I added a zipper, and I also added a lining to this one and my other one, which just gives it a very nice professional finish. Again, you can throw whatever you want in this pouch and it's not going to go through the lining. And I think it just ends up looking really, really nice, really, really professional, and like you took your time to make this gift. So I think these are really nice gifts. They do take a little bit of time. I would say that this one probably takes like a week or 2 to make. And for the lining and the zipper, I did it hybrid. So I did most of the lining, I used a sewing machine, but then I sewed it into the bag by hand, and I sewed the zipper onto the bag, onto the little pouch by hand. But you could probably do it all with the sewing machine. I just feel like I'm not as knowledgeable about sewing machines, so I wouldn't know how to advise you on doing it only with a sewing machine. But it's also for sure 100% doable by hand, like only by hand. If you only want to add the lining in by hand, you can definitely do it by hand. So yeah, I think these are 2 really, really lovely gifts, the Celeste bag and the candy stripe pouch, that your recipient would be more than happy to receive. I shifted slightly because I feel like I was getting kind of dark, but hopefully you can still see me and the things that I'm showing off. Okay, so I am done with garments, scarves, bags / pouches, and now we are moving on to one of my favorite things, because I mean you can tell because I've made so many of them, hood / balaclavas. So I have, I think, like 7 hood / balaclava designs, and I just love them so much. I think they're really cool looking accessories, and I think they are very practical garments, especially in the winter. I live here in Illinois, in central Illinois, where it gets very cold in the winter, and sometimes a beanie just doesn't cut it. So I've often actually worn a beanie and then worn my hood on top for ultimate warmth. So this is one of my favorite accessories, and I think they make great gifts. I've also made these as gifts, and I'm going to be making some hoods as gifts this year. So the first hood design that I want to show off is one of my best-selling designs, I think, ever. And funnily enough, I kind of just made it on a whim. I wasn't expecting it to do as well as it did, but thankfully you all seem to love it. It is my Chroma Hood that I have here. This Chroma Hood is meant to be worked as a scrap yarn project. Actually, that's how I came up with mine, because I was getting really desperate with my amount of scrap yarn in my stash last year, and I really wanted to make a dent in it. Honestly, this didn't make that much of a dent in it as maybe like a garment would have, but it did, you know, use up a fair amount of scrap yarn For my hood, I used 1 strand of sport weight yarn held with 2 strands of mohair for like a really fuzzy look. I don't know, hopefully you can see the fuzziness coming from the mohair on here, but you absolutely don't need to. I have kind of yarn alternatives, different weight alternatives that you can use if you don't want to use mohair or you don't have mohair on hand. And it really is meant to be kind of a creative project, so I don't tell you where to do the color changes. For example, like here on the face ribbing of my hood, I have 3 different colors, but I don't tell you like, you know, work 20 rows in this color, 20 rows in this color, and 40 rows in this color. Like I don't say to do that. I mean, I kind of leave it to your own devices to do that. I also changed the color here on my cords, changed the color here on my hood without having kind of a regular stripe pattern. So it really is meant for you to kind of take this at your liberty, to make it your own, use up all the scrap yarn that you want to use up. It is worked top down, so basically you start by making like the section here that sits at the top of your head, and then you work and add length down the sides. Then you add the ribbing at the bottom, and then you add the face ribbing, and then you add the cord. So what's nice about this one is that you can make it longer or shorter. Again, this is one of those things that you can get your recipient to try on, as long as you don't care, they know that you're making them a hood. So you can get them to try it on. I have 2 sizes in this pattern. So in case, you know, somebody wants a really big hood, this is the smaller of the 2 hoods, and honestly, I think it's very roomy. Like if I had to recommend, if you're giving this to somebody and you don't want to measure it on them, you don't want them to know, I would recommend making the smaller size. This is the smallest size and it fits me. Like right now I have my hair in a ponytail and I can go ahead and put it on and it fits me just fine. Like my ponytail's back here. Do I look super cool? I look super chic, right? No, it's super roomy, super comfy, super warm. Like I said, I often wear this with a beanie underneath and then I put on my hoodie, and you can also just wear it as like a neck warmer, just wear it on your neck. So I love hoods. I think they're so versatile. It also comes with this really cool cord that I show you how to do. You change with 2 colors, and I have a tutorial for that on my YouTube right now. Like I'll also link that one down below. And yeah, it works up pretty quickly. It's you use a 5.5mm hook for this one, so it's pretty quick. I think you could probably make this in 1 to 2 weeks, honestly. So this one is great for gifting. The next one is one pattern that I just released, but I already seen somebody working on it, which is super exciting. It is my Kelly hood. So I have it right here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I hope it's not getting too dark. I'll still put, you know, all the videos and clips up here. But yeah, this is my Kelly hood, and yes, it is all crocheted. I often get questions if crochet like this is knit, and nope, it is not knit. It is 100% crocheted. And what's really nice about this one is that it's seamless, completely seamless. It's worked in one piece. I'm super proud of this one. The construction was a little bit tricky to make it seamless, but I did it. I did it for you guys who hate seaming. And yeah, it ended up looking really nice and neat. So this one is worked sideways, so that's kind of the only way you can achieve this ribbing in crochet. So it's worked sideways, so basically the rows are like the length of the hood, and then each row you add makes it wider. For my hood, I used Cascade 2020, not super wash, just regular wool. I really like that yarn. It's probably maybe my favorite yarn of all time. I don't know, I really recommend it. I think it's very durable. Because this is not going to be making like so much contact with people's heads, I think it's fine to use a wool for this. I don't think you need to use anything kind of non-itch or anything like that. You obviously can if you want to, but I think it's okay if you don't. So most worsted wool yarns would work. I used a 4mm hook for this one, and I also teach you how to do a crochet eye cord. So that's a bit different than the cord that I use for my Chroma Hood, which is specifically designed to look, you know, good in 2 colors. It's a little bit different. So yeah, again, this is an eye cord, which is a very common technique used in knitting. Hopefully it'll focus, something like that. You'll see. So I teach you how to do an eye cord, super common technique in knitting, not as common in crochet, but it's really not that difficult. It's just a little bit finicky and does take a while, but I think it is super worth it. The cord ends up looking very nice. It looks very uniform. It's very circular, like it's very much like a tube, like a cord, like a cord. and the ends also end up looking really nice. I just think it gives it a really nice look and kind of goes very well with this faux knit look. Obviously, you don't have to do an I-cord if you don't want to. You can use like a foundation single crochet row. You can work a chain. You can work the other cord that I showed you how to do. So you don't have to do an I-cord, you know, but I think it looks really nice. And I think whoever gets this would be very grateful for such a nice hood. This is the smaller of the two sizes. Again, I can teach you how to do two sizes. If I was giving this to somebody, I would probably just do the smaller size. Actually, I am giving it to somebody. I just finished the second one. I'm making it for a friend. I made hers in white, and yeah, I just finished making it, and I made her the smallest size of the two sizes. This is a small size, and again, I think it's pretty roomy. The larger size I really recommend for people who have very big heads or who have very voluminous hair, so like very wavy textured hair. I think maybe the bigger size would be better for them, but otherwise I think you're good with the small size. My third hood, my last hood, is my favorite one. It's my favorite one. It is my pixel hood. So this one is with Tunisian crochet, so you can't make this with regular crochet. You do need to know how to do Tunisian crochet, and it was my first one of my 3 hood designs. I think maybe that's also why it's so special, near and dear to my heart. I made this kind of on a whim. Like this one, I didn't think it would do as well as it has, specifically just because Tunisian crochet is not as popular as regular crochet, but you all seem to really like this one, which makes me so happy because I love this one. I mean, look, let's see if we can see the texture. Unfortunately, I feel like the colors don't come off as nicely as they do in person, but the texture does. The texture does. And I made this also originally as a scrap yarn project. I had 1 ball of this green yarn and 1 ball of the blue yarn on hand, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. I also had mohair that matched both of them. I wanted to do something. I find that the Tunisian stitches that I use often use less yarn than regular crochet. Excuse me. So I knew that I wanted to use Tunisian crochet for those yarns because I didn't want to run out of yarn since I didn't have any more. And I had already made many balaclava patterns at this point before I released this Tunisian crochet hood, and I figured that it was time to do a hood because I know sometimes people like roomier balaclavas. That's for me the difference is like a hood is much looser, it's not fitted around your head, it has the drawstrings. I think of balaclavas as much tighter on your head. So I had already had many balaclava designs, and I wanted to do one that was slightly differently. So that's where the pixel hood came. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this one. This is worked with 2 colors. For each color, I use 1 strand of sport weight yarn and 1 strand of mohair yarn. So you can see the nice little halo here. Let's see if I get it in the sun. You can see the nice halo there. And yeah, it's worked top down. So same as the Chroma Hood, you start with the top here of your hood, and then you add length down the sides. You add the neck ribbing, then you add the face ribbing, and then you make the cord. I think this one is really quick to make. You use a 6.5 millimeter Tunisian crochet hook, so it's pretty big, and yeah, it works up really fast. Same with this one, it's really nice that you can kind of try on the fit as you go, and I think you could probably make this in 1 week, two, you know, if you're really taking your time, but I think 1 week, this is very doable, and it looks so cool. I've seen so many of you guys make these ones. I might put in some of your ones that I've seen. These look really cool. I have yet to see a color combination that I don't like, and I think the stitch just lends itself to looking cool. Sorry, I don't have a different word, but I just think they looks really cool. Okay, so that's it for my hoods. Now moving on to my balaclavas. I'm only going to touch on 2 of them, even though I have more. You can check out those designs on my Etsy and Ribbler shops, but these are 2 of my personal favorite ones. So this first one that I'm going to talk about is called my Emily balaclava. So it's this one, and it is similar to the Kelly hood in that it has a kind of faux knit look here. It's also worked as one piece. It's also completely seamless. And I made this with 1 strand of light worsted weight yarn held with 1 strand of mohair and a 4.5 millimeter hook. What's nice about this one is that I did design it to have kind of a longer neck, so most of my other designs like the hoods and my other balaclavas don't have as long of a neck. You can always add that, like you can always add that, it's just not instructions in the pattern, but this one I did specifically design to have a bit of a longer neck, so it is nice that it kind of covers your neck, it scrunches up at the bottom. And this one does fit much more tightly around your head. I'll put a picture in here of what it looks like on me. So my boyfriend, for example, who bikes around a lot to get to work, he says he prefers balaclavas because they sit tighter on his head and so less air can get through. So I've made him like actually plenty of balaclavas. Sometimes he uses this literal one for when he's biking. So yeah, I really like this one. And then the next one is called my Hali Balaclava. So this is, I think, my second or third balaclava design I put out in the fall of 2022. And I really love this one. I love the texture on this one. This one uses the alpine stitch, which I don't use that often, but I love how it looks. I love how the alpine stitch looks. And this one is worked with 1 strand of sport weight yarn held with 1 strand of mohair yarn. And a 4mm hook, and this was one of the first projects I started using mohair with. And the base yarn, so the sport weight yarn, already had a bunch of different colors in it, and when I ordered the mohair yarn I tried to match the colors pretty well, but when the mohair yarn came it was really red, like really kind of like bright, let's say grapefruit pink red. And it didn't match that well with the base yarn, so I was really angry. I was like because when you do yarn shopping online, the colors don't always come out as they're supposed to, or as they look like in real life, and I was pissed. I was like, I'm not doing this, whatever. I made the gauge swatch and I loved how it looked. It was basically my first time where I matched a base yarn with a slightly different shade of mohair, but I think it looks stunning. I mean, I don't know if you can, it really captures it here on camera. Unfortunately, the sun is going down, so the lighting is not as great, but it looks very complex. I don't know, I feel like it adds a lot of depth to the balaclava, so I would highly recommend, not just for this design but for any design, like choose a mohair that's like slightly different color than the base yarn, and you're gonna get a really cool look to your project. So this one is also worked top down. You start at the top, work down the sides, add the neck ribbing, add the face ribbing, so you kind of understand the construction by this point, hopefully. And this one I think you could probably do in 1 to 2 weeks. I have a couple of different sizes for this hood in my pattern, and yeah, I just love how this one looks. I mean, I think the texture is fabulous on this one. Okay, we are getting through these patterns. Hopefully you're still with me. Thank you to those of you who are still with me. All right, so we're moving on to the next section, which is hats / ear warmers, or beanies / ear warmers. So these are pretty classic gifts, I think, for when you think of things to crochet or knit somebody, and for good reason. You know, they're very practical, they often fit many sizes, and they're pretty quick to make, I think. So I have a couple for you here. Some do take a little bit longer, some are really quick. So I'm going to start with the ones that take a little bit longer. So first up is my all-time best-selling pattern. It is my Clover Beanie. So here it is, and once again, yes, this is 100% crocheted. Look at her in all her glory. She's so beautiful. I can say so many things about this design. I'm gonna have to bite my tongue to not just keep talking about it, but it's so lovely. I'm so glad that this design has had the reception that it has. It was not that easy to design. I mean, you would think a beanie, it's not that difficult, but I was very intentional about how I made this because I wanted something that was fitted at the crown. Often crochet beanies are just rectangles that you then crochet closed and then seam at the very top like a drawstring. That's, you know, kind of a classic beginner project, which is absolutely fine. We all have to start somewhere, but I think those often lend to bunching at the top, which is okay if that's like a look you want to go for, but I prefer to have my beanies a bit more fitted. So this one is worked with short rows. As you can see, there are some shaping rows here worked up, and it is very elastic. One thing that I don't understand is when people message me that their Clover beanies don't fit them. I think they're probably just not either making gauge swatches, or they're using probably like cotton or other plant fibers, which are inherently not elastic like animal fibers are. If you're gonna make this design, I 100% recommend using wool, alpaca, cashmere, some animal fiber, because plant fibers just like, you're setting yourself up for failure. This is one Clover Beanie I have, this is another one, and this is another one. I've made 4, I think my dad has my other one. It's like a brown one, which is the first one that I made, and it was already really nice. But yeah, this is such a stretchy beanie. Here, I'm holding it flat here. This fits, this is the smallest size. It fits already pretty well on me. Watch how much this stretches. Whose head is not fitting in there? Whose head is not fitting in there? Can someone tell me? I mean, I am complaining here. I'm complaining too much a little bit, but this one is so elastic, like so elastic that your recipient's head will fit in this. Trust me. This is the smaller size. Once again, I recommend making the smaller size if you don't know what size they wear. This really does stretch out, especially if you use the recommended yarns I have in the pattern. I used 1 strand of worsted weight yarn held with 1 strand of mohair. I specifically used Cascade 2020 Superwash Merino, I believe, for the worsted weight yarn, and for the mohair, I think I just used like whatever I found at my local yarn store. And what's nice is for the smallest size, you only need 1 ball of each. So you just need 1 ball of the worsted weight size and 1 ball of the mohair, and you can crank out this beanie no problem. So I think this is the ultimate crochet gift. Also, I mean, can we talk about how nice it looks? It doesn't look crocheted, it looks knitted, but it's 100% crocheted and has the very nice top here. Yeah, I'm so glad that you all love this one as much as I do, and I think it's about time I stop talking about it, because again, I can go on forever. Oh, and one more thing, that's the yarn that I had in my, I don't even know where I left the yarn anymore, but that's the yarn I had in my candy stripe pouch. I'm gonna make a Clover Beanie for someone in my family. That's what the white yarn was for. All right, this next design I think will not be out yet by the time I release this pattern, but it will be out super soon. And it is another beanie design. I'm trying to hide the ends here as I talk because I did not weave in my ends yet for this one. But this is my latest beanie design. This is my Junction Beanie. So this is it. And this one was actually also intended as a scrap yarn project. It was just some 3 colors I had on hand. This is not my typical color palette, kind of like brown, beige, and blue. This baby blue color, not my typical color palette, but I ended up really liking how it turned out, the colors together, and I think they make the stitches really pop here. And this one is worked with 100% wool. Some of this is just regular wool, some of this is merino wool. It was just what I had on hand, but I think it turned out really nice, like really nice. Also, yeah, here the ends are dangling out from the inside, so don't judge me, I still need to weave them in. But yeah, this beanie is currently in testing, but will be out, I think, I'll put the exact date on here, but I think it's December 7th. Hopefully I'm right. It is kind of close to Christmas if you're planning on gifting this year for Christmas, but it's so quick to make. I mean, I am a fast crocheter, and this is my job. I was working on this project for this time period I'm about to tell you, but I made mine in 1 day. Like, I started, let's say, a day in a few hours. I started, I think, at like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, and by 2 p.m. on Thursday I had finished it, and I was already blocking it. So I don't think it is a super time-consuming project. It is very repetitive once you understand what you're doing. Yeah, what's nice about this one is that it is worked with 3 colors, but you don't need to cut your yarn at the end of every row, so you're not gonna have to weave in a billion ends. You just carry the yarn with you up on the next row. So you're not crocheting it into your rows. You just drop your yarn and leave it on one side of your work 1 row, and then switch colors at the end of your row. Which is really, really nice because, again, you don't have to weave in a billion ends or add new yarn every single time. You just carry it up the sides of your work. And because of the way it is worked, when you fold it up, you don't see those color changes on the right side. You can see them. So here I'm going to show you. You can see them here on the wrong side, so you can see those floats. But when you fold up the brim, I think you can't really see those color changes at all, which is intentional. And again, you know, the less weaving in ends we have to do, the better. So I got you. I also really like that I just crocheted the seam closed, but because of the stitch pattern used, it kind of blends in. So the seam is, let me see if I can find it. I think it's like right here, but it is a bit tricky to see because the stitch pattern is kind of interesting. So a random seam kind of thrown in there doesn't really stand out. I think it's in there, but honestly I can't tell. And once again, this beanie is very stretchy. Again, whose head not fitting in there, I don't know. This is the smaller of two sizes. I made this for myself, but actually when I was back, I recently visited home, and my brother was there, and I had him try on the beanie. And sorry to my brother, but he has a big head. He's got a bigger head than me. He's the brain power, I think. But he's got a bigger head than me, and his head fit perfectly fine in this size, the smaller of the two sizes. So I think if you're gonna give this to somebody, once again, I would recommend doing the smaller of the two sizes, unless you know they like their beanies a little bit more loose or they have a big head. But yeah, I just recently designed this, but I'm so happy. The reception already has been pretty good, and I will of course put the pattern link down below as soon as it releases. And yeah, hopefully you all enjoy making this one. I think it's super cool, and it is a good way to use up scrap yarn. I think for this size, I only use like 33 grams of each color, 33 to 35 grams of each color, so really not a lot of each color. It's worked with worsted weight yarn. I don't know if I already said that, with worsted weight yarn, and I used a 4mm hook. I think you could probably make it in 1 to 2 weeks and you would be good. Alright, the next two designs I'm going to talk about, I don't have on hand with me. The next one I'm going to talk about is called the Erin Chunky Beanie. So this one was named after one of my best friends, and it is, I don't know if it's my first design I ever made, but it's one of my first designs I ever made like 4 years ago. But I really think this one stands the test of time. I've actually taken down some of the designs that I originally made because I think they don't really fit with my style anymore or were a good pattern, so I took those down. But I think this one is a good pattern. I stand by it, and I actually think it's a great beginner pattern because it is worked with that classic construction that I talked about earlier. It's worked as a square or like a rectangle, and then you crochet the sides closed. You like fold it in half, crochet the sides closed, and then you know, do kind of a drawstring at the top. But it has like shorter stitches on one edge so that it still ends up being fitted at the top. You only need to know how to single crochet, double crochet, and slip stitch to make that one. It's worked with super bulky weight yarn. I think for mine I used Lion Brand Wool Thick and Quick, which is like a classic here in the United States, and a 10mm hook. So works up really quickly. You could probably, I mean, if you're an experienced crocheter, you could probably do it in 1 to 2 hours max, and it's a really nice kind of easy gift. Of all of the ones I've listed here so far, I think it's probably the easiest and the quickest one to make. I think I also have several sizes in that pattern, but I'll have to check how many sizes I have. And yeah, it just lends itself to making a bunch of those. Actually, a couple of years ago, somebody asked me to donate some hats that I had crocheted for a shelter here, and I made like cranked out like 5, 6 or something like that in a week. So that's another thing you can do with them. If you have extra scrap yarn, you can make them for shelters or to give out this winter to keep people warm who need them. So yeah, I really like that one. I stand by that one. I really do think it stood the test of time. The next one is a design that I haven't named or didn't name because it's a free tutorial here on YouTube. So I put it out earlier this year, I think, or at the end of last year. I don't remember exactly if it was like in December 2023 or January 2024. But it is a free tutorial that I have here on my YouTube. I'll link it down below like everything else. And it is worked with herringbone single crochet. So I also have a full tutorial showing you just how to work the stitch, like not even the beanie, just how to work the stitch. And then in the second tutorial, I show you how to work the beanie row by row. And I actually ended up giving my hat away to a friend. Like I think I only had it for 2 months, and my friend needed a hat, so I gave it to him. So already I've gifted this one away. the construction is sideways like all my other designs, just because I think it really lends itself to those nice ribbed rows. And it also has short rows at the top to give it that fitted crown. It's worked with a bulky weight yarn. For mine, in my video, I used Barocco Vintage Bulky, which I think is a blend of wool and acrylic, but honestly, I would recommend just using 100% wool. I found that that hat was not as elastic as I wanted it to be, but I think it was because this wool that I used had a higher percentage of acrylic, which again doesn't lend itself to being super elastic. So if I had to redo it, and I might make this hat again to gift to somebody this year, I would use a 100% wool yarn. I think it's just better. I also used a 6mm hook, and I think you would probably make this hat in like a week or two. It's very quick. And it comes with a full video tutorial, so very easy to follow along, if I do say so myself. Okay, this next one, I currently don't have the tutorial for, but I'm working on it. I'm actually waiting on a yarn order so that I can record it. Hopefully the yarn should be coming soon, but I am working on a tutorial for this little tam slash beret, which I absolutely love. I think it came out even better than I thought. I love the little pom-pom. I love the colors that I used, and it was such a quick make. I think I made this in an hour and a half. So yeah, I'll post a tutorial as soon as it's up. It's a very quick one to make, and I think maybe it's not for everyone. I definitely understand that this is a little bit of a funkier piece, but if you know someone in your life that would be, oh yeah, like that's their style, I think this could be a really fun gift. Because I don't think you can buy something like this, at least not in the stores that I'm going to. So it's worked in the round with color changes at the end of every round. You carry the yarn up with you, so it's not, you don't have to cut and attach your yarn every time. You just carry it with you. Here you can see this line is where I was changing colors at the end of every round. It's worked like in a spiral like this. You don't need to turn your work or anything. It's very easy. You just go increasing your work, and then once you reach the widest point, then you decrease, and then you add this kind of faux I-cord edge to have it kind of cinch in a little bit, and this is what's gonna sit along your head. And yeah, it's very easy to make. I used a super bulky weight yarn for this one. I used a 6.5mm hook for this one. And again, like I said, it took me about an hour to make, an hour and a half to make, not very long. I think you could probably crank this out in a week if you are busy. And I also love the pom-pom, but you don't have to add the pom-pom. You can just leave it as is, and that will look really nice too. And you can also choose, you know, not such bright colors. This one I really wanted as kind of a statement piece. I really like how red and blue look together, but you can do a much more toned down version of this. So yeah, that is, I'm working on the tutorial for this one. Hopefully I'll have it out by next week. In 1 to 2 weeks, you should have the tutorial for this one. All right, so that is it for hats, but now I'm moving on to ear warmers. So I have two for you here. This next one is one that's near and dear to my heart because it's named after my mommy. So these are my Alma ear warmers. So these ones are also super quick to make and very easy. You only need to know how to use 2 stitches for this. This one is also another one that's like super stretchy that should fit many people. I think it looks good on anyone, like literally anyone I think would look good in this one. Really going for a very classic look here, just like a ribbed ear warmer. What's nice about this one is that it also is like a double layer, so you work it to be twice the width at the end. So it's like you basically work it to be twice as wide, and then you kind of close it into a tube so that it looks like this, and the double layer makes it so that it is nice and warm. So because I did the double layer, I actually used a thicker hook than I probably would have otherwise. So it's worked with light worsted weight yarn, but I used a 5.5mm hook. So as you're crocheting it, it does look a little bit see-through, but again, when you fold it in half and close it, it's pretty dense. Like you're not gonna get much wind or air through this, and it's nice and squishy. I love when things are nice and squishy, so I love this one. I am actually working on one right now as a Christmas gift. I'm working on it in red, and that one I made the mistake again of buying a wool and acrylic blend. I just think for some reason that they're gonna be okay, and then I end up hating them. So I wouldn't recommend using a wool and acrylic blend personally. Yeah, if I had to redo the one that I'm gifting right now, I would just use 100% wool. I bought it because I thought it would be easier for the recipient to just like throw it in the wash and not have to think about washing it by hand, but I probably should have just used the superwash wool instead of like a wool and acrylic blend. So lesson learned. I won't be doing that again, but yeah, I think you should definitely use a wool yarn for this one just to make sure that, you know, it does stretch. So I have two here, both of mine here, super stretchy, super warm. I love taking these out on walks when I quickly want to go out, you know, especially because I often wear my hair up in ponytails, so beanies are not always feasible for me. That's also why I love hoods, because you can wear your hair up. But I'm talking about ear warmers. But yeah, anyways, I love these. I think these are very practical, and again, I think they look good on anyone, and you can make them in like a bunch of different colors. You could use scrap yarn. These are great scrap yarn projects because they don't use that much yarn. I think you could probably crank this out in a week. The next one I don't have on hand here with me. I also think that one's in my parents' house, but I'm not sure. I made that one 2 years ago, I think. So the next one are my Becca ear warmers. I think those are a very fun project to work on because it's very simple, very easy. You only need to know how to chain and slip stitch, and that's it. Chain and slip stitch. If you can do those two, you can work these ear warmers up. Very meditative project, and the final product is like so soft and squishy. It's worked as a tube, so you work in spirals as a tube, and then you crochet closed, and then at the end you seam it together to form like the twist that is created here at the front of your head. And for mine, I used sport weight alpaca. I would actually recommend that because if they're going to be wearing it on their forehead, you know, you probably want something soft, but warm still. So yeah, the only thing is that these do take a little bit of time to work up. I used a 4.5mm hook for mine, and I remember it just took me longer than I thought it was going to take me. Like in my head, if I'm doing an ear warmer, it should only take me like a week or two. This one probably would also just take you a week or two, but probably closer to 2 weeks than to 1 week. It just took a little bit longer. So if you do want to make this one, just bear in mind that it's probably going to take a little bit longer than this one to make. Okay, we're approaching the end here, and thank goodness, because as you can see, I'm sure you've been able to notice that the sun is going down here on me. Hopefully I'm able to finish before it gets too dark. So the next category is the gloves / mittens category. So I actually only have 2 designs, but I'm going to talk about both of them. So the first one are my Hopscotch Mittens. So these are so cute. I made these last year. Let me see if I can get the second one. Oh, okay, I found it. These are my Hopscotch Mittens, like this. I also love the name Hopscotch. I think it just evokes, you know, like a childish, playful, whimsical term. I often associate mittens with kids. I don't know, I just think that kids often wear mittens, and I think they're super cute. They're also very chunky, very quick to work up. I use a bulky weight yarn for these and a 6.5mm hook. Let me check. Yeah, 6.5mm hook. For these ones, I used Arcane Fiberworks bulky weight base, but any bulky weight yarn would work. I then went ahead and made these last year that have these little pink bows on the front. I think I used Valley Yarn's bulky yarn for this one. I think so. I think I used bulky weight yarn for these, and they just work up so quickly and are so cute. Here, I'll even put them on. Let's see. Like, look how cute and chunky my hand looks. These are so cute. I need to make more of these. Wow, I really like these. Yeah, they're so fast to make. You start here on the ribbing on the cuff. So you make the cuff first, and then you work your way around, actually in turned rounds to keep the texture the same. What I really like about these and the next gloves that I'm going to talk about is the shaping of the thumb gusset. One thing I really don't like in mitten patterns, I actually honestly see this a lot more in crochet than in knitting, is when the base of the mitten is basically already as wide as your thumb is, like it's like at the widest point, so there's no increases done to shape this part of your hand. It just already starts like a block like this. Nuh-uh. Your girl did some increased rows here to add, you know, shaping here. So basically this width is the same as this width, and we increase, then separate the thumb, and then keep working this part for the fingers. So I'm very proud of this design. It wasn't so easy. I also graded it for 2 sizes, I believe. And yeah, I think these are so cute, and I think anyone would love to get these as gifts. I think just mittens in general are super cute, and these work up really quickly, like really quickly. I think you could probably do these in a week. This is what this pair looks like on, and let me do the other pair just so you can see, you can get different ideas of what colors to use. No, I'm just kidding. I think I made 3 of these pairs, 3 pairs of these Hopscotch Mittens. Look how cute, and look how cute they look with the bows. I love these so much. I'm going to be wearing them so much this winter. So those are my Hopscotch Mittens, and the next ones are my Sonia Gloves. So these are fingerless gloves, so they just come up here to your knuckle. Honestly, if I had to make mine again, I would make mine slightly longer. Like, I think I made them a little bit too short. I would want them to go up a little bit higher on my fingers, but that's okay. Another excuse to crochet up some gloves. So I don't have the ones that I have in the listing photo here on hand with me, but I do have 2 other pairs. I love these gloves. Of all of the crochet items I've made probably ever, these are the ones that I use the most because my hands get so cold in the winter. So you'll often see me, or well, you won't see me, but I often wear these in my house because, like, even here in my apartment I get really cold, and I'm working a lot on the computer, so I need my hands. I use my phone a lot, so I need my fingers. So these are a great solution for me. So I have these pink ones, which I absolutely love. They have, I think I worked these with 1 strand of fingering weight yarn, 1 strand of mohair, which actually is a little bit too thick for the pattern, so I had to modify them a little bit, but that's okay. Like, I still love them so much. Once again, they have the shaping for the thumb gusset, so they are very fitted, like they fit very nicely. I'm very proud of the fit. This is what I'm talking about. I wish it went up a little bit higher, like up to this knuckle, so you could barely see my little pinky finger up there, but that's okay. I still think they look really nice. Actually, wow, I haven't put these on in a while. They look so nice. It's fun to rediscover all of my designs. I've done a lot of stuff. But yeah, I love these. I also really like this border that I put on them. Like I mentioned before, I don't like it when projects aren't finished, don't have any borders or edges. So I did a very simple border here, but I think the look is very effective. I also did it at the bottom. Maybe you can't see it as clearly, but I really like this little border that I added just to give it, you know, a little contrast and a nice finishing edge. So I made these. As you can see, these come up to here about my midway down my forearms, but sometimes I just want my hands warm, like I just want hand warmers because I'm often typing on the computer and stuff. So I made these, I think with some extra yarn I had on hand. This must have been like, I don't know, it's probably like 10-12 grams of yarn, 10-12 grams of yarn here, and so I made them much shorter. I just modified the instructions to not do that many rounds here at the bottom, just maybe like 1 or 2 rounds, and then I began shaping the gusset for the thumb. Again, you know, I'm very happy with the shaping here, and again I did that border here at the edges, and these fit really, really nicely. They're worked with sport weight yarn, and I used a 4.5mm hook to make them. Depending on what size you make, I think I have 2 sizes. It'll take you, you know, longer or shorter, and also depending on the length. Like these, I whipped up probably very quickly. I don't even remember making these, but I whipped them up really quickly. But if you want to make, you know, ones that are this length or even longer, it's going to take you a little bit longer to make. So I think you could probably make these in like 1 to 3 weeks, depending on how long you want to make them, how big you want to make them. But if you're just making them like this, like literally just hand warmers, you could probably make them in a week. Like they're not that difficult to work, and they're very practical gifts. I personally love practical gifts. I don't like getting gifts that I'm never gonna use and they just sit there. So maybe they're just super practical for people like me who get very cold hands but still want to be able to use their fingers. So yeah, I love these so much. Okay, we are reaching the end here. I'm almost done. I have covered most of the categories that I want to cover, but now I am at the point where I'm giving you gifts that, you know, you just want to crank out like this. So this is kind of my miscellaneous category and the gifts that I suggest you make if you really don't have very much time. So the first one is Tunisian crochet scrunchies, or just crochet scrunchies in general. Unfortunately, I can't find my Tunisian crochet scrunchies. I lose scrunchies like no other thing. Like I can never find my scrunchies, so I knew when I made those Tunisian crochet scrunchies that I had to enjoy them while they lasted, because I was gonna lose them. So I already don't know where they are. They're for sure here somewhere in my apartment. I just need to find them. I haven't looked for them, but I'll put a nice picture of them here in their glory. So yeah, so Tunisian crochet scrunchies. I actually have a pattern for 3 different Tunisian crochet scrunchie patterns. What is nice about that pattern is that I specifically designed it for people who had never done Tunisian crochet before, had kind of wanted to try Tunisian crochet before but didn't know where to start. So that one is great for beginners to Tunisian crochet. You can also buy it if you already know how to Tunisian crochet but just want instructions on how to make some cute scrunchies. But yeah, what's nice about that pattern is I include 3 different scrunchie designs, but 2 of those you can work up with just a regular crochet hook. You don't need a Tunisian crochet hook. If you're unfamiliar with Tunisian crochet, basically your project can only be as wide as your hook. So think of like knitting. You see people with very long knitting needles. It's the same thing with Tunisian crochet. Your project can only be as long or as wide as your instrument. So for 2 of those 3 crochet designs, Tunisian crochet scrunchie designs, you can just use a regular crochet hook because the fabric that you're working up is not that wide. So as long as your hook is like got a straight throat, I believe it's called on the crochet hook, then you don't need to even buy a Tunisian crochet hook. You can just try it with the supplies you already have. It's worked with these scrunchies I designed to be worked with sport weight or fingering weight yarn. You can probably use other weights of yarn. I just wouldn't recommend it because I think it does make the scrunchie like bulkier. I think it's more practical if you use fingering or sport weight yarn for scrunchies. And what's nice is you really don't need very much of the yarn. You probably like 10 grams, if that. So for those designs, I used a 5.5mm hook. They work up very quickly, and you work like a long rectangle and then you seam it closed around a hair elastic so that it actually is functional as a scrunchie. So yeah, I think you'd probably make one scrunchie in an hour or 2. So those are really nice if you just want to crank them out. I probably will be making some for my girlfriends. And yeah, I think they just make great, very practical gifts. You can personalize it, use the person's favorite colors. So there's a lot of freedom there. And again, I designed that pattern specifically for people who had never done Tunisian crochet before but kind of wanted to try it out. So I do recommend that one. The next one is a great scrap yarn project. It is these crochet coasters that I have. So I actually just pulled these from my coffee table that's right in front of me. They are these scrap yarn coasters. Hopefully you can see them. They are worked with just regular crochet, and like I said, they're very nice scrap yarn projects because you can just use as many colors as you want. And what's nice is here you do change the colors every single row, but you don't have to weave in your ends because you can just leave them as tassels and make these little rug coasters. So I call these my rag rug coasters just because I think they look like little rugs. My boyfriend calls them magic carpet, so my magic carpet coasters. I think these are really nice. Again, very practical, functional. You can customize these to the person's favorite color palette, to their home decor. You can also, I think these would also look really good in just like a self-striping yarn. That way you don't have to change colors and you just work the pattern as normal. But this stitch that I use in this pattern really lends itself well to color changes. So I think those are very nice and very practical gifts. I have a set of 4 coasters, but honestly you could just give like a set of 2 and I think that would still be really nice. I think, so for these I used sport weight yarn and a 5mm hook. And I mean, depending on how many coasters you make, I think you could probably make a coaster in an hour. So again, like if you want to make a set of 2, I think 2 hours. If you want to make a set of 4 hours. That would be my estimate. Then this next one is kind of more, I guess, aimed at Christmas gifts, but you can make these cute little Tunisian crochet sweaters. So I made some a couple years ago to send to my friends as Christmas gifts. So I made a sweater for my friends, and then I mailed them to them with like a Christmas card. And I also just thrifted some wire from my local like second reuse craft store, and I made these little hangers. Hopefully you can see them, these little hangers. I just think they're so cute, and I made them so that my friends could hang them up on their Christmas trees as like little ornaments. What's nice with these is, again, you can use scrap yarn, but you could also personalize these sweaters to include, let's say, the first letter of the person's name, or like if they have a pet, you could put their pet on here. You know, the possibilities really are endless with these. And so yeah, I designed these for Tunisian crochet. I have a pattern for these out, I think, yeah, like I put it out 2 years ago already. Wow, I can't believe it. And I made so many of these little sweaters. I still have a bunch of them that I could probably gift to people. I should give to people. But I think these are so cute. I think these make really, really nice gifts, especially right now for Christmas time. And the last one I actually don't have on hand right now, but it's just an idea, and I'm gonna put a tutorial up for my own version of this, but it is kind of like a lavender / clove crochet sachet. Hopefully I said that right. But basically it's like a little packet of cloves, like the spice, or lavender that you can give to people along with your handmade gift. So obviously a lot of handmade gifts, crocheted or knit, are made with wool yarn, which is susceptible to being eaten by moths. So one thing you can use as like a natural defense to prevent that happening to you is to store your crocheted or knitted items with clove or lavender, so you know, both things smell really delicious. So I think it would be a nice idea to, if you're gonna make any of these gifts or any crocheted gift at all, you can give them that gift and then also give them like a little crocheted sachet. So the idea would be, and again, like I'll have a tutorial out probably next week or the week after for those will be so quick to make, but basically you would make a little pouch out of crochet, and then inside that pouch put cloves or lavender and give that as well with your gift. I think that would be a really nice touch. I mean, imagine somebody spent so long making you this really lovely gift, and then on top of that they also made you this little pouch that smells delicious and gifted that to you. How nice would that be? I think that's so nice, and I am planning on doing that with the gifts that I am giving this Christmas. I'm going to be making like matching little sachets with the extra yarn that I have from those gifts, and just putting either lavender or cloves in them and giving them to their recipients like that. And actually I got the idea because one of my friends, their grandmother gave that to me, just like a little, she didn't give me anything else, she just gave me the little crocheted sachet, and it had lavender in it. I still remember it, so lovely. She wrapped it in purple tissue paper, and so I would crinkle it and it would sound really nice, and yeah, it smelled delicious. So I 100% recommend making those. Those are really quick, and I'll have my own version on how to crochet that out, again, probably next week or the week after that. But here are some inspiration pictures if you want to go ahead and get started on making your own and you don't want to wait for my tutorial. Completely understand. All right, with all of that being said, I think I am done. I think I did 25. Hopefully I didn't miss one, but I think if I counted right, I gave you 25 ideas for gifts to give this holiday season, or really for any occasion, using my crochet designs and patterns. So thank you to those of you who have already bought my patterns, thank you to those of you who are considering to buy my patterns, and thank you to those of you who just watched this video to learn some more about my designs. I really enjoyed talking about my designs. I could talk about these for ages. There's so many things I want to share about my own designs, and yeah, I just want to thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, hopefully you are feeling inspired and in a gift-giving mood. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. If you have any questions, leave them down for me in the comments below. Let me know if you're planning on making any of these for the upcoming holiday season, or other crochet gifts that you recommend. And yeah, just thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.